guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tula. If it is your first time tuning in, and I hope you stay, enjoy, and please do not forget to subscribe. So I'm not even gonna go about how long it's been. We all know how long it's been. And my reason for coming back is not the reasons I thought I'd come back. So I kept saying that, oh, come back when I've settled into my life and like I get everything and I'm happy and not happy, but like when I've found a sense of, hey man, we're in routine, life is working out and but I think the reality that I'm realizing now is that I am just struggling with coming into myself as an adult. Like I'm really struggling with the everyday stuff, besides work, which I do amazing. I can't do anything else, which is a bit embarrassing, but like really that's where I'm at. I don't feel like the near future, and I mean I'll pray about it and hope on it and whatever, but I don't feel like I will ever before the end of 2022 feel like I am in the space where, you know, I've kind of figured out my life and routine, and not figured out my life but figure out some sort of routine that will allow me to come back on a more regular basis, because I think that's another reason why I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back and disappear again. But at this point I'm gonna be like, we're just gonna be happy that I come back when I do and that I'm okay with disappearing for months on end and then coming back again when I feel that I'm in the space too. Just a brief catch up. This year has been all in all, I think, good. The bad was really bad, but like the good was, you know, good. I finally moved into my own apartment, which has been a lot. I think those first few months are really heavy and there's very little that can prepare you. First 2 months were like, how are we gonna get through this? But like that was amazing. And I think the living with myself or living by myself has been really, really amazing. Like, oh, I've been dreaming about this. Like, I don't think if you told me last year that it would happen the way I wanted it to, I would have believed you. But I'm grateful that the things that I pray for usually come as the way that I prayed for them, which is fantastic. So I need to pray bigger, pray for bigger things and see how's that gonna work out. Change jobs as well. So that was for me, those were 2 big things happening at the same time or around the same time that required a lot of my energy, and like all my energy was obviously directed there. Because I was thinking about just the mental health journey and how I learned of like mental illness and how I started dealing with my mental health issues. And one of the big things that I was looking forward to last year, this year, was finally going back and seeking professional help, based on just affordability, like the ability to, or the access to those avenues. So I've been doing my job for a couple of months, so it's like, Sissy, why haven't you been seeking any professional help? And this is one topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, for years, but just the process of finding or seeking help. It sounds quite simple, like all I'm gonna do is go on Google, look for a therapist near me, and yay, go to therapy. As a person who's previously had professional help, I can say comfortably that it's taken me longer to seek professional help on the basis of what I've experienced previously. So the first time I went to therapy was in 2017, and that was after, 2016. We all know 2016 was not the year, baby. Like, oh no, 2016 wanted us there. not sure what I expected. I think I went to therapy, and every week in, week out, Gabu, I'm talking. I am, just going through it. I'm so deep within go, even though I'm going to therapy, and I think that's one expectation. I thought the go would decrease. It did not. It felt like it was getting worse, and I didn't have an understanding of why it was getting worse or what was going on. I think my therapist at the time, I felt demographic mattered. I Now that we've gone through the years and we've seen, I don't think it always matters, but I do think in this instance it matters. But there's advice like, okay, if this thing is making you feel this way, then why are you still doing it? And it's just like, what you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, I can't just up and leave. I can't quit. Like, what's the plan? Like, if I quit, I owe people because people are paying for me to do this thing. I owe people, and then I'm just gonna go and go on more because one of my biggest goals is the financial insecurity. So it's like, how is leaving this thing that's causing me all the stress going to help? The second issue with my therapist was felt like they were personalizing some of the things that I would experience or share. And like if I would miss a therapy session, like it wasn't oh we are goa. It was, did I say something? Did I do something to make you feel? It's like, bro, it's not about you. Like, all it is, the reason I'm here is all about me. But number three was the big one for me. It was after months of therapy, at no point was I redirected to seek a psychiatrist, which is what I knew I wanted. Like, I needed someone to diagnose me. I needed someone to then tell me step 2 of this process. You cannot only speak about it, but you are going to need more help. And my therapist didn't do that. And I had to, at some point, I think we were going into finals, and I'm like, Cece, if I'm continuing like this, I'm gonna fail again. So I'm gonna need you to recommend a psychiatrist and someone who's going to diagnose me and give me medication, because I need to deal with this in another way. Like, I've been talking, it hasn't done much for me. Like, it helps a bit, but like, I've been talking. I was hesitant with going to see a psychiatrist and getting medication for my mental illnesses, mental illnesses, on the basis that like the reviews aren't great. And it's funny enough, the biggest review is something that I experienced. Like, people talked about the weight gain. Like, they were like, I've had friends who have experienced weight loss, good for them, but like, maybe, ooh, wow, ngiboni. Most importantly, I don't think I shared those expectations with my therapist, which might have affected, our sessions. But eventually, months later, when I realized that I'm about to just crash and like, this is not enough for me and I'm gonna need you to give me more, that's when I was like, okay. She helped me out. But even that, like, she was so disappointed in herself that like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry that I didn't. And it's just like, okay, it's fine. Anyway, got my first psychiatrist, and I think now I notice, looking back, that my issue wasn't just my first therapist, but even my first psychiatrist was just someone who diagnosed me, and even recommended that I go to their clinic, like I be admitted. But she made it sound like, yeah, but like, you're not as bad as other people that I met. And that made me feel quite, it felt like my illnesses weren't that deep. I don't know if she was trying to reinforce that I can fight through it or whatever, but it didn't help. It didn't serve me in any way. It made me feel somewhat invalidated for, feeling the way I was feeling. Because if you're telling me I'm not that bad, I'm like, also, first of all, why are we even comparing me with anyone? Like, it didn't need a comparison. I don't know, like, health professionals, and I'm not just speaking about mental stuff, like health professionals, just some of my interactions with health professionals feel a bit violent, and I don't know if it's, I mean, I'm forgiving because I realize that they're just human, but I'm like, that's when you have to just go. At that point, I didn't think too much about it. I was just like, okay, cool. Those were my first two introductions to mental health situations, and I don't think they were great for me. And they might have affected how I viewed mental health professionals and why I'm always hesitant to move on. Of course, I eventually changed therapists. So when I did go and get admitted, I got a therapist, and my new therapist was amazing. She's super busy though, and that's one of the reasons I stopped therapy, amongst others, like not being on medical aid anymore, being kicked off because you were an adult, like bye. But like she was super busy, and I remember there was a one time I had an appointment for like a weekday, and I went, and I think I waited about an hour, and then my session was cut by 30 minutes on the basis that we were running late. Then the next time I went or made an appointment, on the day when I arrived, I found out that there was a mix-up in my appointment dates, and my therapist isn't in. And I think that was the last time I went to therapy. That was in 2018. Right? And then literally after that, I remember things like falling apart even more. And I don't blame my therapist. I just feel like if you are going to find a therapist, then you're going to get a good therapist. A routine is needed, and I think as a person who struggled with basic things, like leaving the house was big, and that day I left the house with the intention to speak to my therapist or to have a therapy session, and it was kaput. So then I stopped therapy, regrettably, but genuinely, like, I'm not gonna fight to see a therapist. I went once when I was like towards the end of my medical aid membership under my mom, and she was just shocked, like, dude, where have you been? And like, I think I went because I could feel that, but it didn't do much for me. I don't think it did much because that was the last time I went to therapy, and it was the first and last time I went to therapy in 2019. So yeah, I don't think my first experiences of therapy and psychiatry have been great. My second psychiatrist seemed more like I moved psychiatrists in the same clinic. Like I was like, actually I can't do this one who keeps telling me how much worse things could be. Like I can't, like, dude, really, you think this is helpful? So my second psychiatrist was more professional, I believe, and like was able to be like, oh yes, let's do this, let's do that. And again, shame with her, I also saw her the first and last time 2019. So I saw, when I went back to therapy, I also went to my psychiatrist or new psychiatrist to try get back into the we gonna do this thing. That was beginning of 2019. So it's 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. We're coming to the end of 2022 and I haven't been to therapy. It's been rough. I won't lie, like it's been absolutely tough, but like I think we've been socially on. Earlier this year, I remember going to a GP because I was burning out, like I was just like losing it, and I think even the GP was like, dude, I can book you off, but like you need a long-term plan because even your blood pressure's shooting. And I'm like, okay, cool, I will find someone. Like I just can't find someone now, like I gotta find someone. I remember that same week I had tried to see my old therapist, and surprise surprise, she was busy. The next available date was like a month later. So I'm like, you see, it's things like that where I can't. And for me, that's a clear indication that I need to find someone new, because I needed someone more urgently. And I don't think it's fair on her, obviously, to be like, oh, she was never available for me. It's just, she's probably that good that she's always fully booked. And I think what's worse is that she is at the hospital, or she's at the clinic where people get admitted. So there are literally hourly patients all the time. So I understand that she was never going to be as available as I needed her to be. I personally need someone who's going to establish a routine. If I'm going to therapy every week, I want it to be every week on Thursday. If I'm going to go every second week, it must be the same time at this time, whatever. Like, I need routine if I'm going to seek help in that way. The only people that you can see like this for me are the psychiatrists, because you don't have to see them often, or I never had to see mine often. I think I'm okay. Like, it's been years. I'm okay with starting new everything. I'm of course praying that I don't have a shit experience or a trash experience, because it's just, I can't, like, I genuinely don't have the capacity for anything that is going to I can't. The reality of life is that there is no profession. Not all professionals are great at what they do. Like, not all accountants are good accountants or great accountants. Not all lawyers are good lawyers or great lawyers. So I think that's the same mindset you must have about mental health professionals. Not all of them are great, and this is not to say that mine weren't great. They weren't good for me. They weren't a good fit for me. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that you need to, or that I'd like to convey with this message. Like, find the people that work for you. Because I think in the beginning I went with the flow. I just went with, well, I have help now. And it's like, does this help serve you? Is it doing what it needs to do? Are you feeling the benefits of what this help was seeked for? And if you're not, then it might be time to change, or even, or like, might be time to chat up with your professional and be like, I just feel ABC. So I wish that I'd done that in the beginning, or I wish that I was aware that I didn't have to stick it through on the basis that I found someone. Like, I think also because I had never had previous experience, those first times felt like, this is just it. Maybe I thought they were great people, but, or they were amazing, or they were 10 out of 10s, but this is just them, and therefore, what am I gonna find? Just a lost bit because of my previous experience. The first psychologist that was recommended to me was horrible. I didn't even make it to her office. I had one interaction with her by mistake outside of her office, and I knew instantly that this is not my person, that I could never ever have her as my therapist. It was such a hostile conversation. It was something so small, but like, the way it made me feel was enough for me to know that never. I don't even know her name, like, but no. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope to see you guys very soon. And please, again, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.